Welcome to Networking RX, a podcast devoted to helping business professionals like you enhance your networking skills in order to become more proficient giving and receiving quality business referrals and improving the overall quality of your life and the lives of those around you. The Networking RX podcast is a production of AmSpirit Business Connections, an organization whose mission is to empower business success through networking.
This is part two of Molly King. Part one was her around the country adventure in however many days, around the world in around the United States in 80 beds. But what I want to really get at now is, you jumped out of corporate America. That was really kind of the first part of it and how that happened.
Mm-hmm.
What you've built from that, because to be honest, Molly, that's the dream of a lot of people. They may not admit it, but I think a lot of people really, I was an attorney. I know lots of attorneys, and I know lots of unhappy attorneys. I know some successful, happy ones, but by and large, it's kind of unhappy.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think there's a lot of people in corporate America who hate Sunday night because they got to go to work Monday. Yeah. And I'm not that way, but it's not my story. I'm not that way, but you're probably like me in that you, to a degree, can't wait till Monday morning. Or maybe Monday morning is every morning because you're not. It's
a little bit of a non-issue. Every day is a day.
Yeah, right. So let's talk about your business and kind of share, the types of things you're doing. Certainly tell me about your book, if you could.
Yeah, absolutely. The evolution of switching over from corporate to non-corporate or entrepreneurship is always an evolution, as I'm sure you know too. Yeah. I spent the first, I'll call it a few years after corporate, really just figuring it out and not doing a great job. I'm somewhat of a slow learner when it comes to creating, big new blocks for myself. I can do little things easily, but large changes take me a little bit longer. But that aside, really owning whoever you are is like a big point. And I don't think that's something you can just like do right off the bat. It's creating enough positive experiences within yourself, following through, doing what you say you're going to do, that you start to build that capital within yourself and see that like, oh, I do know what I'm talking about because I've lived through it, or I've lived through enough challenges that I now know, I have some experience to now talk from. And my business currently is multifaceted, and I'm actually trying to pare things down and simplify a little bit. But currently I am doing a lot in my dance career. So I'm traveling almost every weekend with a dance partner, and we're starting to get hired to teach and doing workshops and a whole bunch of things on the dance front, which to me is awesome because this is kind of my window to go after that. And I know that I won't necessarily always have this option. So I'm maxing this out as much as I can right now, which I'm really excited about. And in the background, I'm working on my second book, which is called Live Your Dance. And that's based off my podcast of the same name. And essentially I've been interviewing people from all different industries, similar to what you're doing in a way. And I'm looking for the common denominators of success. And I'm using dance as kind of my lens through which I'm speaking about all these when it comes to navigating career paths. But I want to see, what are the common principles or qualities that people are expressing that create success, so that no matter what industry someone is in, they can apply or express these qualities and find similar success in their own way. So essentially just helping create a roadmap and gathering quality questions for people to ask themselves so that they can dive into their own process and find what fits them.
Right. I think that's important. Obviously you made the transition out of corporate America, and as I did as well. And it's not an easy thing. There's not a lot of people you can confide in. You spend most of your time working with coworkers. You are deathly afraid that they know anything about what's going on in your mind. Right. So, it's not like you have a lot of people you can confide in. Sometimes people, spouses can be a great advocate, or they can be, they can be a drag on it as well, because it's scary for you and it's really scary for them, especially if you're the sole breadwinner.
Absolutely.
Or not even being the sole breadwinner, but being a breadwinner that's vital to the household operating.
Yeah.
And so, it's not an easy thing. So I think coming up with those questions will be invaluable for people to be able to kind of sort through and come to their own conclusions as to what it is. Now,
yeah.
Did you dance in high school in that, or it was just dance something you picked up?
I did. I grew up doing kind of the little kid stuff, and then I got into a hip hop team in high school and college. So I was definitely involved with that, and grew to be the captain or co-captain of those teams at different points. And then after I graduated, essentially it was like, I love performing. I love being on stage. I love dancing and moving. So how can I find this and incorporate it into my life? And then I kind of stumbled upon West Coast Swing, and that became, the dance I never knew I always wanted. So.
Well, and for our listeners, mollyking.com, go to mollyking.com. And there's a link there to videos. And I was sharing with Molly. I was watching these videos. She's laughing. I'm not this crazy. I have other things to do.
That's why the videos are there.
Right. But to me, it was very interesting because these things look very choreographed, and you've revealed to me they are not. You are basically go to these events, and a name is pulled out of the hat, and and that's your partner for that event.
You might say hello.
No talking, no planning, no nothing. Mm-mm. And with that backdrop, with that information, watch these videos because you would not believe it.
It's such an amazing metaphor too, because like I was saying, this dance is very much like a conversation. And so I don't necessarily have to know what you're going to say next, Frank, to know that we can still communicate, right? We didn't talk and plan all of this out, but we can still have a great conversation and see where it goes. And that's essentially what this dance is too. You learn the vocabulary per se of this dance, and then you're able to, I can travel to different countries and not even speak the same language and have amazing dances and an incredible night with people I don't know because we speak the same dance language.
Yeah.
Quote unquote. So it's an incredible community and thing to be a part of. A lot of it, I used to do a lot of acting as well, and I was very heavy into improv. And to me, it's very much like improv. It's just improv dancing. And so that concept, which you might have heard of that yes and, that you always approach a scene and you agree with whatever someone's putting out there. Someone's not going to be like, I have a gun. You're going to be like, no, you don't. That's your fingers. Like that kills the scene.
Right.
But if they're like, I have a gun, and be like, man, I had to get to my massage appointment today. This is going to ruin everything. It's like, then you have somewhere to go. And when you're in dancing, when someone kind of leads you into something, it's a way for you as a dancer or as a follower to say yes, and then you can add to it, and then they say yes to that, and then they add to it, and it's this awesome, building of a co-creation of moments and movements.
Well, I'm going to go back and watch some videos just to, not that I'll be able to see it, but just to kind of have a different perspective on it.
Yeah. And sometimes you can, which is fun. And you can be like, oh, he totally led that. Or no, she totally put that idea out there and he went with it. It's so fun to kind of dissect it for sure. Yeah.
Now, where you're, I guess, where do you see this 5 years from now? Where do you see this 10 years from now? You've kind of alluded to, hey, listen, I can't dance forever.
Right. I plan to as long as I can, for sure.
Sure. And God willing, that's years to come, but there's going to come a time where you can't, or you, I think there are other things you're trying to do with respect to this
absolutely
that speaks to a much broader audience.
And even for me, I think, one of the things I've learned is that I have a very high need for variety in my life. So it's even hard for me right now, even though dance is one of my top priorities. I've noticed that I don't do very well if dance is my only priority.
Right.
So if I'm putting all my eggs in that basket and then I allow, sometimes I'm injured, sometimes, judges don't judge me very well. Sometimes me and my partner aren't doing so well, whatever it is, it's like, all of a sudden then if that's my only metric for success, then I feel like I am not doing well at all. So I've noticed if I have enough of other metrics, so like if I'm also working on my book, if I'm also taking care of my clients, if I'm also getting out into the mountains, I feel so much more grounded and balanced. And so I know 5-10 years from now, I would love to be speaking and doing workshops and having other books or programs out. I have a lot of investment ideas I want to pursue. I know I want to diversify my assets in my own life so that I have so many streams that I can have a positive, what do I want to call it? Like dividends of positivity coming in. And that way I'm not, if one thing, let's say I'm, permanently injured and my body can't work, so dance is out, maybe. Even then, I wouldn't say it's a for sure thing. I would find a way to be part of it. But, I'm not going to be so crushed because I'm going to have other projects that I'm still excited about, and or vice versa, So I think it's so important. That's something I'm talking about in my book too that's coming out, is this idea of soul cultivators. So while you might have corporate going, you might have your marriage, you might have all these, big block items.
Right.
At some point, we also need to make sure that we have something kind of guarded for ourselves that can't be touched by income, that can't be touched by social media or by external factors, that it's our own cultivating place. So whether that's reading or gardening or hiking, we need to make sure that we're incorporating those things in our life to maintain balance and that groundedness, that centeredness, so that we're not at the whim of external circumstances. And I believe we all have, some kind of a place that's kind of our essence, and that can't be touched. And so as long as we spend some time developing and spending time there, then we have kind of that firm foundation upon which that we can interact with the world and not have it be this crazy, thing that's happening to us.
Well, let's touch on a couple of these things. We're running short on time here, but
Sure.
What would be a good referral for you? People listening, who could they introduce you to? I guess would be my first question.
Sure. Yeah. At this point, I'm on the brink of launching some of my other books in Spanish and on Audible and things like that. So one of my dreams would be to work and teach in Spanish-speaking countries.
Okay.
Or with Spanish-speaking people. I'm sure that we have a lot of them in the States here too.
Yeah,
so
sure.
Obviously that's not an opportunity. And I would love to be, essentially speaking in many different ways and leading workshops for lots of different kinds of groups, but dancers and non-dancers alike. So
Sure.
that's one of my main goals, is to bring that up, and we'll see from there. Like you said, like corporate changes so quickly, my own landscape changes quickly. But I will be launching some online products and programs in the future. And so any support in those, whether it's directly or connecting me to the next step, would be awesome. I'm also, I'll just put it out there, but I have a baby toy product that I have a patent on, and I'm looking to bring that to market. And that's been a little bit of a struggle in terms of finding the right licensee to work with. And it's not something I necessarily want to manufacture myself, but I think it's a great idea. And I'd love to talk to anyone who might be able to bring that to market.
No, I think it's good. You need to throw those things out there. Don't ask, don't get, right? So
you never know.
Yeah. MollyKing.com, is that the best way to get a hold of you, or is there
that one's a little more static. I'm a lot more up to date on my social media pages, so Instagram at Molly King, or Facebook, you can find me there, or my Molly King page on Facebook. Those are both great ways to connect and to interact with me in real time.
Okay. Yeah, I know we connected on LinkedIn, and your admission to me right out of the gate was, I don't check this often.
I just went to go update it. It's been a couple
I just
years.
figured you were blowing me off like 90% of the other people. So
no, not at all.
Responded. It was maybe
I was like, this message is pretty old, but I'll see if he's still there on the other side.
No,
I'm so glad.
Yeah. Well, Molly, I really appreciate your time. This was a joy for me. I'm sure it's going to be a joy for other people to listen to. Thank
you.
So if any, Molly King, go and check out her videos, mollyking.com. AmSpirit.com. I'm serious. Spend 15 minutes watching these. It's really fascinating. Reach out to her. Certainly, if you're somebody who's in the product development area, that would be great.
That would be awesome. Thank you so much, Frank. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AmSpirit.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connection. All rights reserved.